Okay guys, wiring for the TDI to the stock Toyota ignition, so you don't have to have a toggle switch for the standalone setup that I've run. If you have not watched my other video on the TDI wiring standalone system, please do so, otherwise this won't make any sense to you. Let's start it off. Okay, the ECU comes out. First thing you do, I pulled the entire ECU out and threw the port inside the passenger side. It's on the firewall. The whole thing comes out without cutting anything, so just pull that out first. Second thing you want to do is go down here and attached. Here, I'll put this down here so you can see. These were essentially all attached in here. So these are all connected. These are, obviously there was different links here. I'm just kind of giving the rudimentary. These are the body transmission or data transfer plugs, I guess you want to call them. They send all the signals like tach input, engine heat, oil pressure, all that stuff is all through here, and also AC and stuff, because when you hit the AC button, the engine's supposed to do an idle up. So it has to communicate with the ECU. So what I did here was I just went back through the sensors that I needed, and we'll go to that here in just a second. I want to show you. There is a bundle of wires. Man, come on, it's not bright enough. I think you can see it right here by my finger where it's moving. That bundle of wires has a bunch of grounds to it. That ground goes right here. And then we'll get back to this in a second. I want to show you where the other end of that goes. Alright, so there's the original hole where the harness comes through. Come on, focus, you stupid thing. And basically coming out of here, there is one harness that goes to your transmission and transfer case, and those are the ones that light up and tell you that your four-wheel drive is active on the dash. I really wanted that. It's kind of a nice feature. Not necessary, but I wanted it. In this harness, you have the two plugs, one transfer case, one transmission, then you have your starter wire. Starter wire is kind of important because that's the one from the Toyota body side that tells the engine to rotate. Has nothing to do with the TDI ECU, so that's just the whole body side. Now, the next wire I have in this, which I did, was I backtracked from the part that I wanted. So I wanted the oil pressure. Oil pressure sensor, real easy, real mechanical type, easily replaced, easily found, and kept the original butt connector and everything, obviously. And that leads into that harness as well. That's the one that communicates with the gauge and tells it what pressure it's at. Then we have the coolant temperature sensor. That same thing is the one in the dash. It tells it what to do. Your color code might be different than mine. Mine is yellow with a green stripe and red hatch. Oop, there we go. Focus. Focus. Anyway, definitely check your manuals, or at least at minimum do continuity testing, because on the back side of your gauge cluster, there is, yeah, I have a spare one sitting right here, actually. It's easy. It's really easy to test because the contacts. I snipped that one. What was I doing? Anyway, contacts are right there. So you just take your voltmeter, and you can see here there's one that says temp. We follow that back and through. It goes around and it comes out, and it is that wire right there. Look at that. Red, green stripe, yellow. Awesome. Red hatch, yellow wire. And that obviously correlates to this because that's exactly what it is. So that signal sends all the way through. Easy, done, nothing. That's all I really wanted from my gauge cluster is oil pressure, temperature, and obviously the four-wheel drive indicators. So back to that main harness. On the other side here, we're going to go and do these big wires first. These are just grounds. These are indeterminate length. I cut them at the farthest length away because I don't know where I want to connect them on the TDI harness. Basically just giving myself an easy ground. The TDI harness I have set up with O connectors that bolt into body places anywhere I can stretch them to. But seeing as I'm going to integrate them, I might as well just get them soldered together and have true ground to the body through the harness, which is kind of nice. It's not needed, but it will be done. So this big red, well, I would say this is more black with a red stripe. This goes to the alternator plug. Chased it all the way down over there. I don't need it for the way the Toyota is set up. So what this is this gets power signal from the key. When I turn the key on, this gets continuous power. Only when the key is on, which is important because when you wire this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire it to the fuse block. The fuse block is going to sit right here. The fuse block turns on when I turn the key on, and then when I hit the starter is automatically going to turn because it's the Toyota system, and then the TDI will catch on that the engine's rotating and fire up. Real easy. You could go through the process of finding which one of these little wires also stays continuous and then putting in a fusible link and then putting each one to a corresponding one of the 7 or 8 that are required for, what is it, 7? One of the 7 that are required for the TDI to run, such as sensor power, pedal power, all those little powers. You could do that. I wouldn't recommend it. It's just dumb because you're going to have fusible links. Why not have a nice little fuse block? That's so much easier. So most of these will get deleted. I found this yellow one is my AC activation. When I push the button, I get voltage here. So this will end up going to my AC system once I get around to doing that. Turning the AC compressor on to compress and have air conditioning. Pretty much all the rest of these are kind of useless. Sorry. There is one in here. I haven't got to it yet. I was going to do it. It's the tach signal for the gauge cluster. I have to get the converter from a TDI to a regular tach signal, and then basically just wire it in. So, you know, the one comes off the TDI harness for the tach, and then goes through the converter, and then goes into whatever wire is my tach signal to the actual tachometer itself, and it's done. That easy. That little unit, from what I see, is small enough that it'll fit back here with the rest of the stuff. No big deal. So there's switched power and start. So all I got to do is jump in, turn the key. I don't have to push any toggle switches anymore. Just turn the key on and the truck starts. That is it. Super simple. Now, there are a few things that I'm going to add in as far as, like I said, AC and the sensors that I had run. I've got to run those 2 different ports, but if you're at this stage and it's confusing you, don't, because this is real easy. This is like really easy. Any of these that aren't used left over can be deleted and be done with, because if you're not using them, then just get rid of them, because a lot of them were just corresponding signals from sensors. A lot of these went to this pile. You know, I mean, it's got the other 2 coolant sensors that the 3.0 has. Let's see, there's the vacuum solenoid actuator, diagnostic port, all the injectors. I mean, gosh, that's all stuff that's not needed anymore. So a lot of those wires are going to go bye-bye. So, you know, just find out what you're wanting to use. But for the basics of it, most of your needed items are on this harness. This 4-wheel drive side, which just lights up the little 4-wheel drive light in your dash. The starter, that's all on one, and I believe that, yeah, you can see this is all factory yet, all the way up to here. So this was all already just one piece, and then I just taped up the rest because there was, right here it spidered off and got tangled into some of the wiring of the harness. I don't know how they do it, but they somehow managed to tangle them together. Anyway, whatever. And then coolant and oil pressure, and that's it. That's basically all you really need, and then the tach signal. So, no big deal, guys. Yeah, I would suggest definitely looking into this process because you're using factory plugs. Everything's good. And then it's all about just hiding the ECU and running your lines. The other TDI 4Runner of Kevin's that we did, we hid his ECU inside of his glove box, cut a little hole, and it sits in his glove box because he doesn't really use it. My other TDI truck, which this engine and frame is from, the ECU sat up in here. And I don't know if I'm going to have enough room because I've got this port here. I've got to probably fix that too by the look of it. Anyway, I'm going to try and squeeze it in there and get it running and figured out for that. But that's the least of the problems, is getting that in, because with that simplistic key switch on system, without having any kind of need for excuse me, I can't talk today. Any kind of need for having a toggle switch, it really makes it nice. So I'm going to try and figure out, I don't know if I can or not, but the cruise control I don't think is a momentary switch. I was going to try and see if I could rig this to become the switch relay system for my glow plugs, but If not, then, you know, I've still got the other plate, or I can find another black plate that's just the cover when they didn't have the cruise option. And it goes in the dash right about there. Oh, jeez, I'm going sideways, all stupid. And it goes in the dash right there. So not a huge deal, but it'd be really cool to get this function where the little light comes on when the glow plugs are on, you know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might take it apart and see if I can jerry-rig it or electrically engineer it to work. So anyway, guys, that's it. That's how simple it is. So don't be afraid of electronic. It's really that easy. Take care, guys, and I hope this helps. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will post an update about the AC control system when I get to that point. Thanks, guys.